What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Do You Know? My name is John Dewberry, and always remember, the more you know your history, the more liberated you are. Thank you guys for bearing with me. I had a death in the family, so I had to take a week off, to deal with that type of stuff. Always take time to mourn, no matter what they tell you. Just thought I'd tell you that. But anyway, so we are back, and on today's episode, I have Miss Shirley Chisholm. Now, if your education went anything like mine did, you probably learned about her. The name might sound familiar. I kind of briefly remember learning about her. Yeah, she was the first black woman to serve in Congress. I remember that, but what I did not know was she was also the first woman to run for president. And that was crazy. So she was the first black woman to run for president. I had never heard that before. So just a little background on Miss Shirley Chisholm. She was born Miss Shirley Anita St. Hill in 1924, November 30th in Brooklyn, New York. She studied sociology at Brooklyn College in 1946, and this is where she learned to debate really well, and she ended up winning a bunch of prizes. So fast forward, she was a member of the League of Women Voters and also the Bedford-Stuyvesant, screwed that word up, political league. She also ran for the New York State Assembly in 1964, where she ended up winning, becoming the first black woman to serve on the state legislature. There she served as a Democratic member from 1965 to 1968, and she focused on unemployment benefits and also a bunch of education initiatives. And fast forward again. Due to redistricting efforts in Brooklyn, she was able to run for Congress, where she ended up defeating 3 candidates in the primary election. One was a state senator and also a well-known civil rights activist named James Farmer in the general election. And she ended up becoming the first black woman elected to Congress, and she ended up serving 7 terms. Her campaign slogan was "Unbought and Unbossed," and she ended up speaking out against the Vietnam War, and she ended up later voting against military spending. She ended up becoming a founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus as well as the National Women's Political Caucus. In 1972, she formally announced her Democratic presidential run, and she became the first black woman to vie for a Democratic nomination, the first black person to run for a major party. So yeah, we need to learn more about Shirley Chisholm. Although her campaign wasn't as well funded as other people, she managed to still get her name on the primary ballot in 12 states and won in 28 delegates in the primary elections. She also received about 152 delegates in the Democratic National Convention. And she came in 4th place in the party, so she did pretty well despite not having, the funds like everybody else. Also, here's the crazy part. They tried to kill this lady. They tried to assassinate her, like multiple threats, like multiple times, like it was just wild to me. Like that just shows you how much this country just hates black people, and they really hate black women. Like it's ridiculous. So anyway, moving on. She was able to end up getting Secret Service for her safety, of course. Thankfully she had that. But as history tells us, of course, she didn't end up winning. Of course, she didn't become president. So she retired from Congress in 1982, and she returned to teaching at Mount Holyoke College. I'm sure I butchered that too. In Massachusetts, and she continued to speak at colleges across the country. And in January 1st, 2005, she passed away at the age of 80 in Ormond Beach, Florida. And I believe she's buried in Brooklyn, New York, where it's engraved in her tombstone, where outside of it or something, it says unbothered and unbossed. So rest in peace to Miss Shirley Chisholm. Thank you for being a legend. You were the first person first black person to run for president, and that's big. And now we have a chance to do something very similar. Actually put a black woman in office this time with Kamala Harris, and no matter how you feel about her, she deserves to be protected. History shows us that when black women have done this in the past, it didn't go well. Like threats, they tried to take this woman's life. So we see how this country is today, and I just think an extra effort has to be done for Kamala Harris. And yeah, so hope you guys learned something new today. See you guys next week.